AITA for leaving when my girlfriend said her ex was moving in and it was non-negotiable? After that, I packed my entire life into a moving truck, officially removed myself from the apartment lease, canceled the utilities in my name, and sat back to watch as her ex, the landlord, and reality itself showed her what non-negotiable truly means. I'm 29, and until very recently, I had a 27-year-old girlfriend named Jade. We'd been together for a good while and had been living in the same apartment for 8 months, a place we shared, at least on paper, 50-50. Last Monday, I was at the dentist. Mouth numb, half my face numb from the anesthesia, killing time on my phone. Jade had been acting strange for days, making lots of hushed phone calls and having vague conversations about people from her past, but I figured it was just work stress or some family drama. Until the text arrived at 2:17 in the afternoon. Hey love, just a quick heads up. Tristan is going through a really tough time and needs a place to stay for a few weeks. He's moving in tonight. I know it's sudden, but it's not negotiable. He's in a bad spot, and I owe him. Tristan, her ex, the guy she dated for 3 years before she met me. The same one she claimed was no longer part of her life. The one she said was a closed chapter. I just sat there in the waiting room, my jaw still numb, rereading the phrase, not negotiable, being applied to the apartment we both paid for and shared. Sometimes, a single sentence is all it takes to understand exactly where you stand in someone's life. My response was simple. No problem. She replied almost instantly. Really? Wow. Thanks, love. I knew you'd understand. He'll sleep on the couch. He won't be in the way. I replied, okay, arrange it however you want. You're amazing, she wrote, with 2 heart emojis. Here's the detail Jade seemed to have forgotten. Our lease was month to month. Either of us could give the landlord 30 days notice and move out. And I had paid the entire $2,400 security deposit myself. She couldn't come up with her share when we moved in. She promised she'd pay me back later. She never did. In other words, she had just unilaterally declared a new tenant for a space I had single-handedly fronted the money for and that we both occupied. I left the dentist and went straight to work. I didn't blow up her phone with messages. I didn't start a fight. We even continued talking about our dinner plans as if nothing had happened. On the outside, I remained calm. On the inside, the gears were already turning. My first call was to my friend Miles. I asked if I could crash at his place for a few days. He had a spare room. He said yes, no questions asked. My second call was to the landlord, Mr. Delgado. I explained that I needed to get out of the lease as soon as possible due to a personal situation at home. He told me the standard rule was 30 days notice. I asked about the clause for urgent domestic situations where one party needs to separate immediately. He explained it could be expedited if both parties agreed, but that even without it, my formal notice had already started the legal process. My third call was to a cousin who runs a small moving company. I asked if he had a truck available that night. He did. I got home at 5 p.m. Jade wasn't there yet. Perfect. I started packing my things. Not angrily throwing everything into boxes, not breaking furniture, just methodically going room by room, separating what was mine. My clothes, my electronics, my kitchen utensils, most of which I had bought myself anyway. My furniture, the good couch, the TV, my desk, my chair. I left her futon, the one she brought from her old apartment. I left the decorations, the pictures, the little things that were clearly hers. By 7 p.m., everything I owned was in the truck. The apartment looked emptier, but it was still completely livable. She still had a bed, a futon, plates, and bathroom supplies. It wasn't an abandoned place, just a scaled-down version of the life we had there. Then I sat down at the kitchen counter and wrote a letter. Jade, you said Tristan's move-in was non-negotiable. I respect that. You made your decision about what you need. I've made mine. I've already moved out and started the process of removing myself from the lease. Mr. Delgado has your contact information for any adjustments. The full rent of $1,850 is due on the 1st. I paid the security deposit in full, so it will be returned to me when the lease ends. Good luck with everything. P.S. The utility bills are in my name. I'm canceling them tomorrow at noon. You'll have to open new accounts if you want to keep the services on. I left the keys on the counter next to the letter. I took photos of every room, documenting the apartment's condition. Everything was clean, no damage. I emailed the photos to Mr. Delgado along with a short message confirming my departure and leaving Jade as the sole point of contact for the lease moving forward. After that, I left. I arrived at Miles's place around 8 p.m. I turned off my phone, opened a beer, sat on the couch in the guest room, and finally let reality sink in. Sometimes freedom doesn't arrive with a big dramatic scene. It comes as a quiet decision, followed by firm, consistent actions. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 63 messages, 19 missed calls, several voice messages. The first wave had started around 9 p.m. the night before, right after she got home. What is this? Where are you? This isn't funny. You took the TV? Then the tone shifted. How could you do this to me? Tristan is already here and doesn't even have a proper place to sleep. You're being so immature. The audio messages followed the usual script: confusion, anger, tears, rage, and the cycle would repeat. One at 3 a.m. said, "You need to grow up and come home. We can talk." At 6 a.m., another. The landlord called. "What did you tell him? You can't leave me with the full rent." At 8 a.m., a text. "The electric company said the account is scheduled for disconnection. You wouldn't dare." By noon, she found out I would. The power was cut. When people who are used to you carrying all the weight feel that weight for the first time, they often call it cruelty. That's when she changed her strategy and called in reinforcements. Her best friend, Kelsey, sent me a message. What kind of man leaves his girlfriend just because she's helping a friend in need? Her sister, Paige, wrote, "Jade is crying. How can you be so insensitive? Tristan is practically homeless." Then, a message from an unknown number. "Hey, this is Tristan. I don't know what your problem is, but Jade is a wreck. Man up and come fix this." The ex, the very one she invited to live there, calling me from what had been my home to tell me to man up. I replied to exactly one person. "Jade, you said it wasn't negotiable." I agreed. My decision to leave is also not negotiable. Anything regarding the apartment, talk to Mr. Delgado. After that, I blocked her. I blocked Kelsey. I blocked Paige. I blocked Tristan. All at once. That's when I stopped trying to reason with people who had zero respect for my side of the story. That evening, Mr. Delgado called me. "I'm here with Ms. Rivera," he said, using Jade's last name. "She claims you abandoned her without notice and that she can't afford the rent alone. She wants to keep the split." "I notified you yesterday," I replied. "You have the email and the photos." She told me her ex was moving in and it was non-negotiable. I chose to leave. He was silent for a moment. "I see. In that case, if she can't take on the lease alone and you've already withdrawn, I'll have to start the eviction process. Rent is due in 5 days." "I understand," I replied. "That's between you two now." Later, Miles told me what he'd heard through his girlfriend, who is friends with Kelsey. Jade was in a panic. Tristan had been jobless for 2 months, couch surfing. On top of contributing nothing to the rent, he spent all day eating her food and using her streaming accounts. She tried to kick him out so I would come back. He refused. She had already told everyone how generous she was for helping him. Backing out now would make her look bad. The first of the month arrived. Jade tried to pay half the rent, $925. Mr. Delgado rejected it. He needed the full amount. On the second, I received an email from a new address she created just to contact me. Subject, "Please. I can't afford this place alone, you know that. I don't understand how you can be so cruel. Tristan is leaving tomorrow, but the damage is done. I need you to come back and at least help with this month's rent. I'll pay you back. Please don't do this to me." I didn't reply. Sometimes, silence is the only possible answer when someone asks you to save them from a fire they started themselves. On the third, she tried another approach. She showed up at my work. Security called my extension and said, "Your wife is here for lunch." "I'm not married," I replied. "Please escort her out." She made a scene in the lobby, shouting that I owed her money, that I had ruined her life. Security had to remove her. That night, Miles showed me her social media. She had posted a massive wall of text about being abandoned by someone who claimed to love her and being on the verge of homelessness because of a toxic ex. The comments were full of people calling me trash, saying she deserved better, and praising her strength. I don't even have an account on that network. I only found out because Miles showed me. But she did something worse than social media drama. She called my mom. My mom is a sweet, worrisome woman who gets anxious about everything. Jade told her that I had abandoned her after she lost her job, that she was pregnant, and that I left her for another woman. All lies. My mom called me in tears. It took me almost an hour to calm her down and explain what really happened. I sent her a screenshot of Jade's original message, the one saying Tristan was moving in and that it was non-negotiable. My mom went from tears to fury in record time. She called Jade back and, in her words, told her a few home truths about lying to a mother. Never underestimate how protective parents get when someone tries to use them as a pawn in a game. On the 4th, Jade found my new address, probably by following me after work. She showed up at Miles's house with Tristan. Miles answered the door. I stayed in the living room, but I heard everything. I need to talk to him, Jade said. This is insane. He doesn't want to talk to you, Miles replied. Please leave. Hey, bro, Tristan interjected. We're all adults here. Your friend needs to take responsibility. My friend's responsibilities, Miles said, calmly, do not include supporting his girlfriend and her ex living in the same apartment. You're living in what was his place, rent-free, and you come here to talk about responsibility. Miles continued. I'm calling the police. Jade yelled. He took my furniture. He took what he bought, Miles retorted. I helped with the move. Everything he took was his. Call whoever you want. They didn't call the police. They left after more shouting and more threats, promising to tell everyone what kind of man I was. On the 5th, Mr. Delgado called again. The eviction papers have been filed, he said. She has 30 days to vacate. Jade tried to negotiate, saying she'd find another roommate, but without someone signed on immediately, he couldn't wait. That night, I received another email from Tristan's address, but it was clearly written by Jade. You've made your point. I shouldn't have said it was non-negotiable. I should have talked to you before about Tristan staying here. But this has gone too far. I'm being evicted. Is that what you wanted? To see me on the street? Please, I'm begging you. Come back, we'll fix it. I replied to that one. Jade, you made a unilateral decision about our living situation. I also made one. The difference is, mine was about my own life. Not yours. You chose to prioritize your ex over our relationship. That was your right. The consequences are yours to face. Stop contacting me. Stop contacting my family. Stop showing up at my work. Any further harassment will be met with a restraining order. The apartment is now a matter between you and Mr. Delgado. After that, I set up my email to filter any messages from her or Tristan directly into a separate folder, just in case I needed them later. When someone makes it clear that your voice doesn't matter in shared decisions, the most powerful thing you can do is remove your voice from their world entirely. Over the next 3 weeks, her sense of entitlement didn't disappear. It just changed form. First, she tried the legal route. She hired a lawyer. With what money? I have no idea, and sent me a formal notice demanding payment. The letter claimed I had caused an indirect eviction by leaving the lease without proper notice and demanded I pay 3 months' rent as compensation. I forwarded everything to my uncle, who's a lawyer. He read it and laughed. Then he replied with a short message. In simple terms, he explained that I had given proper notice, followed the terms of the lease, and that Jade's decision to move her ex into the shared apartment created no legal obligation for me to continue paying. End of legal threat. Then came the smear campaign, round 2. She started messaging my distant relatives on social media, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in months. She said I had abandoned her with nowhere to live, that I refused to help, that I was cruel. Most of them ignored it. One aunt, Aunt Denise, called me to get the story. I told her everything. I explained the non-negotiable text. I explained about Tristan moving in. I explained my decision to leave instead of fighting. She was quiet for a moment and then said, "So she thought she could keep both of you in the same place and still make you pay for it? That girl needs therapy, not pity." Sometimes an outsider sees the pattern more clearly than those trapped inside. Meanwhile, the eviction moved forward. Jade managed to delay it for a week by pleading hardship, but in the end, she had to leave. And here's the part that would almost be sad if it weren't so predictable. Tristan left as soon as the eviction was confirmed. The moment the free apartment was no longer an option, he suddenly found other options, other couches, other friends. He left her alone to pack everything up and move out. She tried calling me, crying. The call went straight to voicemail. I deleted it without listening. Last week, I ran into Kelsey at a coffee shop. She saw me at the counter. There was no way to pretend we hadn't seen each other. I hope you're happy, she said coldly. I am, I replied. And you? She's living with her parents now, Kelsey said. You destroyed her life. That's unfortunate, I said. But it was her decision. All adults make decisions. She loved you, Kelsey insisted. She was just trying to help someone. She made a decision about our home without consulting me. I responded. She moved him in and told me my feelings were non-negotiable. I chose not to finance that decision. Kelsey crossed her arms. You're just jealous. She's telling everyone you were difficult and controlled her money. To the same people who know she didn't even have money for the deposit? I asked. The same ones who know I paid for most of our dates because she was always broke? Good luck selling that story. She didn't reply, just turned and walked away. Yesterday, I received one last email from Jade, from yet another new address. I know you hate me now. I get it. I messed up. Tristan was a mistake. Letting him move in was a mistake. Saying it was non-negotiable was a mistake. I lost everything. My apartment, my relationship, my dignity. My parents are disappointed. I have to start from scratch. I just wanted you to know that I learned my lesson. You don't owe me anything. I just wanted to apologize. For real. Not for pity, but because you deserved one. I hope you find someone who treats you better than I did. I didn't reply. Sometimes, closure isn't a conversation. It's the decision to never open that door again. As for me, I'm fine. Better than fine. I found a small studio apartment. It's not as big as the old place, but it's all mine. No surprise tenants. No one dictating changes in my life as if I have no say. Miles and I have become even closer. He says watching me handle all this calmly taught him a lot about self-respect and boundaries. His girlfriend apparently uses me as an example when talking to her friends about not putting up with nonsense. My mom still sends me random texts saying things like, "Proud of you for respecting yourself." She also told a good part of the family about that lying girl who tried to trap her son. So Jade has become a cautionary tale at family gatherings. Mr. Delgado inspected the apartment and returned my full security deposit, $2,400, directly to my account. I'm planning a solo trip somewhere, with no drama, no negotiations over who gets to stay where. When someone tells you that a major change in the life you share is non-negotiable, they are making it very clear how much your voice is worth to them. Believe them, and remember that your response can be non-negotiable, too. She wanted to play the non-negotiable card. I just chose to play mine in a way that protected my peace. Comment. I wanted to share a few thoughts after hearing that story. Sometimes, the quietest actions speak the loudest about how much we value ourselves. We are all responsible for the choices we make and the consequences that follow. Choosing your peace is never a selfish act. It is a necessary one for your well-being. True kindness does not always mean staying to fix things for others, especially at your own expense. Sometimes, kindness means giving yourself permission to leave a situation that no longer supports your growth. There is immense strength in walking away from drama instead of engaging with it. Your home, your heart, and your life should be your safe spaces. Never be afraid to be the guardian of that safety and to redefine what is non-negotiable for you. Take care of yourselves out there. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.